Sky Sports. It's live. Live it.
As the 2003 Indy Racing League builds to a climax, no fewer than 4 drivers are still battling for the title. Tonight they all head for America's newest racetrack, the Kentucky International Speedway, where to add to further excitement with the closest field in the history of IRL, with all 20 cars qualified within just half a second of each other. Yes, hello and welcome again to our live coverage of what is turning out to be an incredibly closely fought season in the Indy Racing League. 4 drivers have a realistic chance of winning the title. All of them are drivers who over the past 2 seasons have switched from the Champ Car Series. 3 are Brazilians, the 2 Penske drivers, Gilda Ferran and Helio Castroneves, and Andretti Green's driver Tony Kanaan, with Scott Dixon as the New Zealand interloper. But none of them are on pole position today, so there's plenty of intrigue in today's 12th round of the 16 in this series. Helping me to find out the stories behind the news, of course, are 2 of our regular guests, US racing expert Paul Cherry and Tim Scott, managing editor of Motorsport magazine. Paul, if I can come to you first, obviously the news is we've got a Chevrolet back on pole with Sam Hornish, the defending champion. The Generation 4 motor built by Cosworth for Chevrolet. They've done a great job, haven't they?
Without a shadow of a doubt. We saw a glimpse of it at Michigan 2 races before, where Sam drove it to that fantastic second place finish on its debut. Now all the teams that were Chevrolet runners have this engine, and consequently it's closed the grid right up tight. Sarah Fisher is running 11th. Most of these people have now got to be in with a chance.
Well, it's his 3rd, if I remember rightly, career pole as far as Indy Racing League is concerned, Sam Hornish. He won from pole in the last 2 times, so the omens are good for Chevrolet and Sam Hornish. But what about Honda and Toyota's team? They must be really unhappy with the way the Chevrolet is developing so quickly.
Well, obviously the point about it is that Chevrolet got a special dispensation to bring in a new engine mid-season. It was a change in the rules. Toyota and Honda were okay with that, but suddenly now they've all the Chevy teams have got the new engine. We see them right at the front, and it could make a big difference to the title battle by taking points off the protagonists from Honda and Toyota.
Tony Kanaan, of course, being the main protagonist. He's at the top of the field by only 7 points at the moment. This is an extremely close series, considering there's 50 up for grabs every time you win.
Absolutely. Tony Kanaan is qualified 11th today. Now, on days when perhaps the Honda wasn't quite the match of the Toyota in the past, he still picked up 5th, 6th, 7th place finishes, good points. The Chevrolet in between,
car number 4.
Back to make a
Scott
difference.
Dixon, car number 9. Helio Castroneves, car number 3.
Gilda Ferran, car number 6.
Greg Ray, car number 13.
Robbie Buell, car 24.
Tom Schechter, car number 10.
Alan Sir Jr., car number 31.
Sarah Fisher, car number 23.
Buddy Rice, car number 52.
Tony Kanaan, car number 11.
Car number 12.
Brian Herta, car number 27. Dan Weldon, car number 26.
Kenny Brack, car number 15.
Roger Yasukawa, number 55.
Alex Perrin, car number 21.
Scott Sharp, car number 8.
AJ 44, car number 14.
Buddy Lazier, car number 91.
Well, one driver that is missing from the starting lineup, he is here as a spectator. That is Vitor Mira, who drives for John Menard, suffered a broken wrist in a practice crash. And here is the practice crash. In fact, he had been running 2nd and 3rd quick on the scoring pylon. And there he loses it, smacks the wall, suffers the broken right wrist. And he is a spectator today, will be checked out at Indianapolis this week, and perhaps maybe back in competition next week. Take a look at the pole position car of the number 4 Sam Hornish. There is your race, 200 laps, 300 miles, or 483 kilometers. The pole sitter again is Sam Hornish, with not a track record. And the pit window, 50 to 53 laps. Last year's champion and spectator here this afternoon, Felipe Giafone, who is still recovering from injuries sustained a couple of races ago. As you take a look at this racetrack, Larry, it's one of those fast 1.5-mile joints.
It certainly is. 2.4 kilometer, 14-degree banking. You can run side by side, but this racetrack has had a problem with being very rough. They have patched it, so it does have some slick spots too.
Yeah, it's very slippery down in turn 1 and 2 as you're right along with Scott Sharp, who'll be starting back in the 18th position. A number of onboards will take us around the racetrack here this afternoon. Sam Hornish will start from the pole position, his first pole of the season. As we said, his third pole of his career. He has won 8 times, which is a tie with Lazier and Sharp. He'd like to break that tie here this afternoon. There is Thomas Schechter back in the 7th starting position. 1 lap to go, and we'll turn them loose.
Yeah, and of course, Scott Dixon, Sam Hornish, Schechter, all these guys looking to get to the front.
Tony Kanaan starting in 11th position, one of the worst starts he's had so far this season.
Yeah.
It's Greg Ray. He'll be starting back in the 5th position, his best start of the season. And Dan Weldon, the young driver for the Andretti Green team, starting back in the 14th position. We should have the green flag, Larry, the next time by. The pace car is off, and we'll turn them loose. This could be, with those new Gen 4 Chevy engines, the most competitive race we've seen this season from front of the pack to the back of the pack.
Well, there's been about 10 or 12 guys who could win each and every race this year. This time, I think there's probably as many as 16 or 17. This is the closest field in IRL history. A little over a half-second difference from the fastest guy to the absolute slowest guy. Unbelievably close competition here today. With the Gen 4 Chevrolets all ready to go. And look at the jump that Sam Hornish gets off the original start. A lot of torque in that Gen 4 Chevrolet.
Well, he takes command. A good battle for second place as they run side by side through the 14-degree banking of this racetrack. Last year's record qualifying speed was turned in by Sarah Fisher, over 221 miles an hour. The pole speed yesterday, 219 miles an hour. But Sam Hornish feels like he's got something to prove. He had this engine at Michigan and was just edged out for the victory by Alex Barron. Then that Gen 4 engine went to Buddy Rice last week, but all the Chevy teams have it, and they've tested this week at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, and he has something to prove.
And you can see that the turn 1 area is the roughest area of the racetrack. They have put some patching on it, and the turn 3 and 4 area is a much smoother area without any patching. So it's 2 completely different corners that these guys have to set up for. They have to try to get their cars set up to handle on both ends.
Tony Kanaan has picked up 4 positions since the start. Now, once again, he is leading the point standings by only 7 over Jill DeFerrin and over 10 points. The gap between Kanaan and Castro Nevis back in 3rd as he goes by Al Jr. Look at him pull away from Al Jr.
Tony Kanaan just drove right past Al Jr. like he wasn't even there. As he started back pretty far, he's already gained about 5 or 6 spots.
Currently in 6th position after starting 11. And you can see the color change there on the racetrack where they've ground this racetrack down. There's a look at Kenny Breck. Breck now back in the 9th position. This track has always been very, very rough, and partly because where it was built and the type of soil that it was built on.
Yeah, the type of soil and the drainage. They thought they had solved the drainage problem. They thought they were doing a lot better with that, but obviously over the winter it did get very rough down in 1 and 2. When they tested here, it was so rough, a lot of the drivers really complained. They came in, they did a lot of patching in the turn 1 area. They ground it down, so it's much, much better now than it has been all year long.
Well, Hornish continues to lead, continues to build that lead to a half-second now. You see the gap back to Dixon, and Castro Nevis is now in 3rd.
Yeah, these guys, Castro Nevis is moving up, so he's really on the go. Scott Dixon still hanging on to 2nd place, DeFerrin hanging on to 4th place, and Robbie Buell still in 5th position with that other Gen 4 Chevrolet up there in the top spot, and that's Tony Kanaan right behind him in that green and white car. There you see Kanaan gaining on Robbie Buell. He's really gaining on everybody.
Hornish shows the way, and each lap he picks up the pace just a bit. His quickest lap so far of the race, miles per hour. But that was not as quick as the lap turned in by Dixon running in second. Now Hornish ups it to 2:15.9. So right now, at the completion of lap 7, he is now turning the fastest laps of the race. You're right along with Tony Kanaan. And Kanaan now is in 6th position. But he's beginning to gain on Robbie Buell. Buell by far the best starting effort of the season for him. In fact, before today, his best start was 15th, and he was very frustrated. A two-time winner in the Indy Racing League, but he just did not have the ponies with that old Chevrolet.
And they hadn't really had the whole combination going very well. They really had struggled this year, and he hadn't been up in any kind of contention for anything all year long until today.
Part owner of this racing team, number 23, that also employs the number 24 of Sarah Fisher. Buell is 24, Sarah is 23. And as we said, Sarah was on the pole with a track record in qualifying here a year ago. As you're right along with Tony Kanaan. Still back there in 6th position. He has his eyes set on Buell, though, as Buell rides in 5th position. So with 9 of 200 laps complete, Sam Hornish continues to lead the parade here in Kentucky. So Sam Hornish getting very, very close to winning that race 2 races ago at Michigan, the 2-time defending Indy Racing League champion. And look at this close competition back in traffic.
Buddy Rice and Kenny Brack going at it. Buddy Rice running in 10th, Brack in 9th. And Rice got under him going into the corner, and then he had to get out of the throttle, and that he lost his momentum. That let Herta go around him.
Banking is 14 degrees in the turns.
Look at Buddy Rice. He doesn't want to give up that easily.
That's Yasukawa, leading rookie in the series this year. The Californian goes by to the inside. Yasukawa now to 11th. Rice drops to 12th. Schechter is 13th. Takagi is 14th. Weldon is 15th.
Well, when the Chevrolet's got the horsepower, it certainly made a big difference in the running order. The guys who we are normally seeing up near the front have fallen back 4 or 5 spots.
Of course, had this Gen 4 engine at St. Louis last week, but that was not a horsepower track. That's a handling track, and that cheaper Red Bull team just never got the handling on the race car.
Yeah, no, they struggled all week long, and it was a lot different than it's going to be here today. As you can see, Schechter was almost at the back of Buddy Rice and then had to get out of the throttle, and when he did, he lost a spot. So very competitive back there in the middle of the pack.
Sarah Fisher has lost a couple of spots. She had been up to 15th. Now she dropped over to 19th. She lost 4 positions in 2 laps. Look back to 3rd place, Leo Castro-Neves in the Scott Dixon machine.
It doesn't take much to lose a lot of ground here once you get out of the throttle, and the bumps here cause you to have to happen quite often.
Live coverage, happy to have you with us as we go around the world today from Kentucky Speedway in northern Kentucky. Gary Lee along with Larry Rice, and we'll say hi to Scott Dixon's parents as we ride along looking out the back of his car. They're in the Silo Bar and Grill and Pub just south of Auckland, New Zealand watching.
Yeah, I doubt if they're there today. It's probably pretty early in the morning, but that's where they go, and it's during our night races. But these guys take their motorsports very seriously. Just went to the Knoxville National, saw a lot of people from Australia and New Zealand at the Sprint Car National just recently.
Now Schechter in 14th position. Go back to the front of the pack, and there is your leader. Sam Hornish Jr. has led from the starting green, led the first 16 laps. Scott Dixon rides in 2nd. 3rd is Castro-Neves. DeFerrin is 4th. Buell is still 5th and being hounded by Kanaan.
And you can see that Castro-Neves and Dixon have pulled out to a huge lead over everyone else. They're 4 seconds ahead of 3rd place Castro-Neves. When we go back farther in the field as Buddy Rice once again tries to get around Yasukawa. He's going to the outside.
Look at steering wheel. See some roughness there in the corner. There's a bump down there in turn 1. This track has been ground. They've got the rhino lining on the track.
Yeah, the turns 1 and 2 much rougher than 3 and 4. You can see down there through 3 and 4 where we just saw them that they just it's a much smoother, not nearly as much patching down there.
There's Roger Yasukawa, who is our rookie this season.
racer. He's raced a lot of road courses. That's been his main, a lot of his background, but all in the arena. Pardon? Yeah. Very good at this. He's currently in 12th position.
12th place in the point standings. His best finish so far this year is 7th.
He's been up very far. He's been up in the front. The first 5 for the last couple of races has been very, very strong. Does not have nearly as good a day going here as he's had for the last few races.
And Weldon in the number 26 car. Back with Weldon now from the Scheckers. Now we do know that it's nighttime in Cape Town, South Africa. So probably Pam and his mom planned family and friends will be watching late on a Sunday. Cape Town. It's about time for him to pop out.
You can see this whole field still fairly well packed. A pretty tight field still of this 22 laps into the race. Everybody within maybe about 20-some seconds of each other. Ask him, you know, how he's so much slower in practice, and all of a sudden for qualifying he takes the pole. There's been a strategy that Panther team that they set the car up for those practice sessions in race trim and not qualifying trim. So they dial the downforce in, see how the car handles in traffic, and they take as much downforce off as they can to make the car faster to qualify. Well, qualifying is 1 lap. The race is 200 laps. You've got to be dialed in for the races, and they've always taken that approach, and I think most of the teams take that approach. But they have the ability to then dial that car for the qualifying and do it in very good fashion so that they pick up 3 or 4 miles an hour just for those couple of laps.
Power going by Herta on the high side as they ride side by side, and that's the battle for 11th position right along with Takagi. Takagi's back in 13th. He pulls to the inside, and he is going to make the pass for position.
Yeah, Herta got out of the throttle. He hit a bump, got a little bit sideways down there.
So as we see Sam Hornish Jr. doing his best out front. You're back with us here in the studio for a few moments. I've got to say that Sam Hornish and the Chevrolet team seem to be doing a particularly good job, Paul. I mean, they're making it work on a track that not a lot of the drivers like that much up until recently, I'm told, through the bumps that are out there.
No, it's a particularly hard track. It's been ground. You can see the marks on the track where it's been. They've tried to make it flatter than it is. But we've said this all the time about Panther Racing. They work every race on their car. Even when they had the Generation 3 engine, the chassis was working well, and Sam often got it into the top 6.
Quick word about Tony Kanaan. Not completely out of touch, is he? There in 6th place at the moment.
Made off a few places right at the start. Very interesting for me that we saw Robbie Buell, Gilles de Ferran, Tony Kanaan running in a train, 3 different engines, absolutely evenly matched.
Perfect. It's what IRL's all about. We'll take a break. We'll be back live racing in just a couple of minutes.
Obviously not horsepower anymore.
Greg Ray in that number 13 machine looks to the inside to make a pass on Buddy Rice. You're on board with Tor Takagi.
And you can see going through that corner just how rough that racetrack is. It's a little bit smoother down here, not a lot, but the drivers say the bumps aren't as nearly as abrupt. It doesn't look much smoother from our camper position, but the drivers say that 3 and 4 is much better than turns 1 and 2.
Now Takagi tries the high side and looks like he's going to make the pass.
Yeah, he just went right on around Greg Ray that time. As Greg Ray, you know, there's only really one good line, and it's kind of in the middle. If you get trapped clear to the bottom, sometimes it's not as quick as it is right in the middle of the racetrack going through 1 and 2.
He's falling back because he started in 5th position, his best start of the year. And now Ray finds himself back in 13th. Indy Racing League champion. They're all chasing that yellow car right there, the Pennzoil Panther entry of Sam Hornish. There's a look at the Red Bull entry. That's the team Cheever of Buddy Rice. Rice now back in 8th position. And we've talked a lot, Larry, you and I privately, that if this Chevy engine does produce, we might expect to see Eddie Cheever back in the cockpit before the season's out?
Yeah, we've talked about that, and I don't know now. Because of the fact that they're so late getting this engine out, it may be tough for him to get back in the car. But I think what it does do is it gives a guy like Eddie Carpenter, who might come out for the last 3 races in the PDM car, an opportunity to get in a car that's competitive with a Chevrolet Gen 4 engine and come out and get a jump start on next year.
But without having conversed with Eddie Cheever, if he sets out the rest of this season, how much more difficult is it to come back next year after being gone a full season?
Well, I would think if he sets out this complete season that realistically
his driving career.
Yeah, I would not think that anybody would want to come back after being out a full year. This is a sport that the doctors will tell you that your hand-eye coordination and all the reflexes, everything that you need, as long as you're active, as long as you're doing it week after week after week, those things can stay very good. Mario Andretti was still good up into his late 40s, early 50s, but if you quit for 1 year, you lose so much of that reaction time, so much of the hand-eye coordination that you can never make it up. It never comes back once you've lost it. So after you've been out a year, I think it's time to say, that's enough, boys. We'll stay where I'm at.
Well, we show you Sam Hornish because he continues to widen the margin over Scott Dixon. The margin now almost 4 seconds between first and second. So right now, Larry Rice, Sam Hornish is having the most fun he's had all season.
Without a doubt. And if you think he's going to lay back and let anybody run close to him, you're wrong. He's had a lot of days when he's running in the back of the pack and getting lapped and struggling to get up front. So when he's got a race car that's working and he's got an engine that's putting out a lot of horsepower, he's going to use everything that he's got, and he's not going to give these guys anything.
That is A.J. Foyt IV, the 19-year-old directly in front of him, and then Scott Sharp, and then Greg Ray. So he is about to lap 16th, 17th, and 18th as he goes by Foyt on the high side.
Yeah, they did that pretty effortlessly. He just went right on around. Scott Sharp, his next victim up there as they go down the back straightaway into turns 3 and 4.
It's interesting that he, Scott Sharp, and Buddy Lazier are all tied for the honors of having won the most races. They're tied at 8 victories. And right now, well, he almost got the right front tag there. Scott Sharp never makes it easy to lap him.
Wow.
That was the case where Hornish had to get out of the throttle big time.
Big time. He got way out of the throttle, way below the white line. And now then he's got to make sure.
So that time Race Control has the ability to contact the individual driver, and they just contacted Scott Sharp with a warning for that blocking move.
Yeah, I'm not sure that was really a blocking move. I just don't think he knew that Sam Hornish was coming up on him that quickly, but he certainly moved down on him going through that tri-oval, and when he did, he almost put Hornish clear down in the infield.
Well, we're hearing now from the pit lane that Sam Hornish may be headed for the pit area around lap 55, lap 47 now on lap 58. There's the high side of Ray, and puts Greg Ray a lap down. So right now we have 16th, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th positions a lap down.
Well, you can see that Sam Hornish has just got things so dialed in. He's so fast. It's been unbelievable. As he went around Greg Ray was running 3 miles an hour slower than he was.
What's interesting, though, that he is turning laps as fast as anybody else, and that was in traffic, and the other drivers had clear track in front of them. So Hornish showing the way here in Kentucky. We saw a dominating race live a couple of races back when Scott Dixon led every lap. We can see this type of race here this afternoon as we go on board with the onboard telemetry. And the lateral G's, 2, 3, 3.5, over 4 lateral G's.
Over 4 lateral G's and the throttle. I'm not sure how you get 102% throttle, but anyway, he's...
Maybe that's why he's doing so well here.
Yeah, he's got more throttle than anybody else. He goes above 100%. But anyway, he's certainly not lifting. He's certainly not getting out of the throttle. And you can see right there, it looked like he might be making a little adjustment down there, but he's really... Now, he did get out of the throttle just a little bit getting into turn number 1, and that's because turn number 1 is the roughest part of the racetrack.
It's also slicker down there. But through all that lapping, he has maintained his 4-second lead over Dixon. And right now, he's enjoying a 13-second lead over Elio Castroneves. So he is just blitzing this entire field.
Well, he and Dixon, really, Dixon is not that far off. Dixon has maintained about a 4-second distance behind him this whole race. But the rest of the field certainly way back. The next closest car 13 seconds behind. That's half a lap. Oh, he has to get out of the throttle right there. But it's a long, you know, he's really much faster. He and Dixon much faster than anybody else in the competition.
This is Alex Barron. Barron now is in 15th position. Sarah is coming in for an early pit stop. This would just be the very, very edge of the window.
Yeah, it looks like it's about the pit window. We said it would be 50 to 52 laps, and it's 52 laps right now. So a lot of the cars starting to head in. Here comes Robbie Buell. Sarah Fisher's already in. Yasukawa behind him. So you're going to see everybody within the next 3 or 4 laps heading for the pit area.
There's Yasukawa.
Of course, we remember how important these things are. The drivers have to hit their marks. They have to come in as fast as they can, not to lose any times. But they got to make sure that they don't come in so fast that they blow through their pits, or that they blow past the guys there to put on the tires, because it takes extra time to roll you backwards.
There is Sam Hornish, and there is Scott Dixon. So let's see who's going to assume the lead on these green flag pit stops.
Well, these guys both heading for, or obviously the Chiron was wrong there. Sam Hornish in the yellow car, Scott Dixon in the red and white car. Dixon gets to his pit box last by being the first guy on pit lane. So Hornish will obviously take off first. Will he beat him out of the pit area? Looks like he will, pretty easily too. Wow. Both teams did a very good job, though. Both of them had very, very good pit stops.
So Castroneves assumes the lead. He was running third when your first two came in. There's DeFerrin making his first routine pit stop. Kenny Breck is also on the pit lane.
Oh,
Price is also in. He almost lost control.
Yes, he did. He went up over that little bump there and was on the throttle, and that thing got a little sideways. You don't want to make a mistake like that. Of course, DeFerrin, very accomplished, and he didn't, but sure got squirrely.
Well, Castroneves comes in. That gives the lead to Kanan, who's the third leader of the day. He will lead lap 56.
Oh, we almost have a pit collision as Castroneves comes in.
Breck was going out.
Breck going out. Castroneves.
Game of chicken.
Well, Castroneves was really on the ball. He did very smart there. He turned that thing to the right just in time.
15 just warned Breck on that little maneuver and leaving the pit. So let's watch this again. Here comes Castroneves.
Oh.
And there goes Breck.
Yeah, Breck just pulled out in front of him and pulled right into that second lane. You're supposed to get, if you're in your pit box, you have to give way. You have to give right away to the people going down the racetrack. That time, Kenny Breck just pulled right out in front of him.
And with this, although Castroneves led a couple of laps, and Kanan has led a couple of laps now because he comes in. Then Takagi takes the lead. They're going to cycle back through, and you'll also have Hornish back in the lead.
Here comes Tony Kanan. He's sixth when this whole pit stop thing started.
Now it's Takagi. Barron has yet to pit. Now Barron pulls off the racetrack, so he makes his routine pit stop under green. Takagi has the lead, waiting for the fuel to be replenished, and the big gulp car leads away. Rice got very high in turn 2. You don't want to do that here because you can catch those marbles and go right through the fence.
Yeah, you can see how quickly they can do the tires in these Indy cars. The tires are on and off. They still have about, if they have a full fuel load to put in, it takes them about another 3 or 4 seconds to put in the fuel. So they have to wait till all the fuel's in. That's the reason sometimes you see them get anxious and pull out before they actually get the fuel hose disengaged. The wrenches are on those tires before the wheels hardly stop. Those guys, if that guy hits his mark, that wrench is on there just exactly the same time he stops. Look at that, 1, 2, 3, about 4 seconds beyond the time the tires are changed for him to get out. It only takes about 7 or 8 seconds to put 35 gallons of fuel in.
Pit side and talk to Tim Cindric.
racing machine. He is driving Dave Wilson to the...
What about the bumps? What's he saying about traversing them in the corners?
Sorry?
What about the bumps? How's he getting through that?
Yeah, he hasn't said too much about the bumps.
Well, talking about how they're getting through the corner, and that's the Penske Marlboro entry of Castro-Neves. Now here's Buddy Rice getting very high. Watch this, Larry.
Oh, man, you can see him going through. This gets bumpier. The higher you get, the bumpier it gets. I'm going to tell you something.
Wow,
he did a
job.
He did a great job keeping that thing out of the fence.
That's the best drive so far this afternoon.
I was going to say, Eddie Cheever, he just saved you about $200,000 right there.
Not more. That was some driving. He got that car about as far sideways as you can get an Indy car without losing it.
And you could see how much rougher it got when he got up on the racetrack.
Riding back along there with Buddy, but up in front, Sam Hornish after the round of pit stops still leads Scott Dixon and Helio Castro-Neves.
Turns 3 and 4.
4 different leaders and 4 lead changes. The leaders were Sam Hornish, Castro-Neves, Kanaan, and Takagi, but those other 3 took the lead under the pit stops. Sam came back out, and boy, I tell you what, he's got his hands full trying to get by. Look at that steering wheel.
Yeah, you could see Sam Hornish down there. That thing was really bouncing around. Those bumps down there in 1 and 2 are quite dramatic, and from Al Unser's car, you could see those things, wheels coming clear off the ground.
You're riding with Tony Kanaan back in 6th position. Now, how demoralizing is this when he's running in 6th as hard as he can run, and he glances up and sees the leader about to lap him?
Yes, it's got to be demoralizing, because you know that these guys are running for all they're worth. Now, notice the lines. Down in 3 and 4, the line is down at the bottom of the racetrack. Everybody's running right there where you would normally expect it. But up in 1 and 2, everybody runs near the middle of the racetrack, a little bit off of the bottom, so it's not as big a disadvantage to be on the outside down in 1 and 2 as it would be anywhere else.
Well, you've got a glimpse of Brian Herta in car 27. He is in 5th position, and Sam is closing in, and there goes Al Unser by Kanaan. So Unser picks up the 6th position. Kanaan drops to 7th. Can you only imagine, Larry, what the championship would be like if Sam Hornish had had this engine all season?
Well, Sam Hornish, he still thinks that he might have a chance at this championship. If these guys have a couple of bad races, of course, there's going to have to be at least 3 or 4 of them has a couple of bad races. But if they do, 100 points back, he's still got a shot, especially if he's as strong as he looks today.
Also, keep in mind, there are 2 bonus points for leading the most laps. And right now, he's led the most laps here this afternoon. There are 5 races to go, counting this one. That'll be 10 bonus points, and that could go a long way toward a championship.
Brian Herta moved him up. He got on the outside of Brian Herta. Brian Herta did not go to the bottom of the racetrack, and he moved Sam Hornish way up the racetrack. So Sam said, "Thank you very much. I'll just go up by on the inside."
He had his first race here at this racetrack back in 2000, and he has certainly shown his domination here today. Right now enjoying that 3-second lead as he goes through traffic. So Dixon is the only driver that can stay with him. Dixon 3 seconds off, which really isn't much when you consider the traffic here on this racetrack.
Now, any other race, we'd be up until today, when Sam Hornish has the Gen 4 Chevrolet, we would have been saying, Scott Dixon's going to lap the field and smoke everybody. But right now, we're not even talking about him because he's running second to Sam Hornish.
Well, DeFerrin is some 21 seconds back in 4th position. Castro-Neves back 17 seconds in 3rd position.
You notice where he ran? He ran a whole car width. The smoothest place in turns 1 and 2 is a whole car width up the racetrack. It's not down on the bottom. That's the reason when you see somebody get on the outside going through 1 and 2, usually they get the guy on the outside passes very easily because the people on the bottom side, or where it's so rough, they just can't run down there. And you can see him. He's almost a full car width off of that bottom lane down in turns 1 and 2.
And from the on-camera shot, you can see all the areas that have been ground down and sealed with the Rhino sealer.
Yeah, that Rhino sealer really works well. They've used that at this racetrack before and other racetracks. And where they go in and grind it down, it does make it a little bit slicker sometimes, but slicker is much better than rougher. And so they do that.
Alex Barron, who has won in a substitute role for Felipe Giafone, won at Michigan in that shootout with Sam Hornish as he drafted by on the very last lap. And the guy that he is subbing for, Felipe Giafone, won this race here a year ago. He is here this afternoon. I want to talk to Felipe Giafone down the pit area.
Yeah, he hopes to be back pretty quickly. He's carrying around his X-ray of his pelvis, as a matter of fact, showing it to everybody here this weekend.
And he's not a happy spectator here this afternoon. It's kind of boring being here at the racetrack and not racing.
How is it for you to be out of the cockpit watching as if your car is run by someone else?
Well, I mean, it's very tough. I mean, the car is supposed to be very good. I think the car is actually very good. It's just he had a bad qualifying. So, but the car is, I think he has a second fastest race.
What about you? When will you be back in the car?
Hopefully after Chicago. I mean, right after Chicago. Should be practicing the week before the race, and I'll be back for Chicago, I hope.
Well, every driver will tell you he is ready to climb right back in the race car much sooner than what the doctors will tell you.
Yeah, everybody thought that he would be out for the rest of the year. He thinks he's going to be back by Chicago. We'll have to wait and see, but he's certainly either a fast healer or a very determined guy.
Take a glance now on lap 84. Hornish continues to open up that lead, now 4.5 seconds over Dixon, and it continues to open up even wider over Castro Neves and Farron.
So Sam Hornish doing it absolutely perfectly, but this man Tony Kanaan that we're on board there with for a moment, you can see the bumps. If I can come to you first, Tim. I mean, the bumps here are absolutely incredible. I mean, you can see some of the cars, even Sam Hornish, that notoriously has got a very smooth car.
Absolutely. I mean, the travel in suspension we're seeing from these onboard shots, amazing. These cars obviously are very, very highly honed piece of machinery, but still, this is the hardest test that these suspensions have through the whole year.
I don't know about you, Paul, but I feel quite tense. It has quite a tense feel about it. We were expecting a yellow, somewhat pessimistically a little bit earlier, but there have been some very, very near misses both out on the track and in pit lane as well. I mean, there was one incident in particular where the leader, Sam Hornish, came in under green, nipped into pit lane and found himself in all sorts of trouble. But this is the Scott Sharp situation out on the track now, as Hornish went for the gap, which was there, and obviously Scott Sharp not paying attention.
No, he probably had a little bit of mirror blindness, but as I've said before, it was the fault of his spotter on the tower. Should have called that big time to him, because he's the race leader. You know, whether he goes the lap down then or later doesn't really matter.
How do we see this developing, this race at this moment in time, very briefly?
Well, I've got to say it's developing into a fantastic fight, as Tim just mentioned. You know, we've had all three engine manufacturers in the top 6, and it's so close. A yellow might just make the difference now, though.
Well, we'll take no more of our time here in the studio, because we're going to be live again in just a couple of minutes. We'll take a short break right now, though.
He's certainly got the field covered here today. As we take a look further back on the field, it's you know, that's
that would be Buell and Barron and Takagi.
Oh, yeah,
that
Buell,
would be
Barron,
the 8th, 9th, and 10th positions. Buell there. There's Barron in the middle. It's the Hollywood car. Then Takagi, the Pioneer car. That's Bobby Rahal in trio, along with Dave Letterman, the owners of that race car. 7.7 seconds the separation between first and second. Trying to get an interval here as they work on lap 97 between first and third.
But you can see that those cars running back there in 7th through about 12th, they're all very close. They're very
real racing.
Yeah,
there's a good show back there.
Great racing back in there, but it's just the first couple.
Sam Hornish is missing a great race, isn't he?
Yeah, he certainly is. He and Dixon have pulled out there where they're not watching the rest of these guys. But anyway, Robbie Buell having by far the best race that we've seen him run all year long back there in 8th spot.
Weldon, number 26. Takagi. Oh, that's number 9. That was Dixon.
That was Dixon getting a lap on him. So Dixon has lapped himself up to 10th place. So he's still got several cars to get around to. He's got about 8 or 9.
There's an 8-second gap now between first and second. Castro Neves, riding in third, is now 21 seconds off the pace. Meaning they don't make a pit stop here fairly soon, he'll go a lap down to this man right here, Sam Hornish.
Certainly will.
He's the youngest driver to win a national title, and then he backed that up last year, has struggled somewhat this year, but has also shown some signs of brilliance with that underpowered Chevrolet as he continues to dominate. We approach the halfway point. Larry Rice and Gary Lee here in Kentucky, as you look once again at the number 11 of Kanan, the number 21 of Alex Barron. And that is a battle for 7th position. So right now, we talked about being demoralized when you're racing so hard. You see the leader could put a lap on you, but he has to keep his focus and his rhythm because he has a points championship to contend for here.
Right. He can't worry about all the talk and all. He can worry about it. He can think about it, but he can't let it bother him when he's on the racetrack. He does have a points championship that he's running for. They still have an excellent chance. I mean, Andretti's team is one of the best teams in all of motorsports. I mean, they're very focused. They know exactly what they want to do, but believe me, right now they're kind of struggling a little bit, thinking, what are we doing wrong? We've had such a great first half, and we've kind of lost our mark a little bit.
Well, you saw Kanan get passed by Barron, and Barron kind of pulls away, and now you see, there's Scott Dixon about to go to the inside of Robbie Buell. Buell back there in the 9th position.
Yeah, Dixon trying desperately. I think he's having more trouble in the traffic.
He's having more trouble getting through traffic than what
Sam Hornish just has been absolutely terrific in the traffic. If they went low, he went high. If they went high, he went low, and he just...
Yeah, we saw that car all season long. He's always been able to run higher on the racetrack, and that car pretty well has been able to go where he's wanted it. Now, granted, he was down on maybe, 50 horsepower or 35 horsepower on the Toyotas and the Hondas, but still the car handled wherever he wanted it.
Well, and obviously when you get the horsepower and the handling, it's man, I'm sure that everybody out there except Scott Dixon is thinking, man, I hope this is not what we got to look forward to the rest of the year, because he's really kicking our butts here today.
Takagi back in 10th position, car number 12. Again, he also a lap off the pace. As Barron heads for the pit area. Dixon now almost 10 seconds back in 2nd position. Takagi back on board with car number 12. Tucked in behind Robbie Buell. That's the battle for 8th. Live coverage with some scattered clouds overhead. We're at Kentucky Speedway in northern Kentucky. They call this the Bluegrass State, the midwestern part of America. Right now there's some great racing back in the pack, but up in front it's been all Sam Hornish. He led the first 53 laps, made his first pit stop, then regained the lead on lap 61, has led since then, and we anticipate his stop in the next couple of laps.
Yeah, everybody's going to have to be stopping here pretty quickly. They've gone 50, any place from 50 to 55 laps, so they're going to have to head for the pit area pretty quickly. Oh, and look at Al Jr. Look at the wheel in his hands as he goes through turns 1 and 2. There goes...
We understand that here comes your leader. And here comes your leader. That would give the lead back to Scott Dixon if he stays out.
Sam Hornish very cool. He takes a tear off. Here comes DeFerrin at the same time into the pit area.
Now it's up to the Pennzoil Panther team to go to work. There is no chassis change at all. They changed the 4 Firestone tires, top off 35 gallons of methanol, and he is away. Very routine, very fast.
And what a surprise that he didn't make any changes. He is just...
Why would you when the car's running that way?
Absolutely dialed in. And Scott Dixon does not make any changes either. We didn't see anybody go to his front wing. We didn't see any changes made. But and he's back out. He's got to be a little frustrated knowing that he's got everybody in this field covered so badly, but there's Barron's car. It looks like they got in on the jacked up, and he's out. No, he's still in the car, but they don't look like they're in any hurry to get him back on the racetrack.
Castro-Neves has taken the lead by virtue of running in 3rd position. The top 2 drop off into the pit area, but Elio will have to come to the attention of Roger Penske and that crew. He should be coming the next lap or 2. Then Al Unser Jr. is now 3rd. Herta is 4th. But keep in mind, once these guys make their pit stop, it's still going to be Hornish back in front with Dixon 2nd and Castro-Neves 3rd.
Well, they were all hoping to stay out there and catch a yellow, but obviously, well,
maybe the only chance they have in this race.
That's right. That's what he's got to do. He's going to stay out there and he's going to stretch it as long as he can, hope for a yellow flag, and if he doesn't get it, then he's going to have to...
Well, Barron, the winner 2 races ago at Michigan, has an early out this afternoon. As
really the first guy out of the race. Everybody's been able to hang in, even with this. We thought the attrition might be pretty high here with this rough racetrack, but everybody's still in the race. He's the first one out here today.
And once again, Roger Penske and his pit strategy staggering the pit stops for his drivers. We've seen this several times this season. It's worked well for him. Well, not that he totally gets out of sequence, but Elio's coming in. Rice is coming in.
Well, Castroneves stayed out about as long as he could. It had been 56 laps since his last pit stop, so he stayed out there about as long as he could before he headed to the pit area.
And that could give the lead to Herta, which it does. First time he has led today, so that's the fifth different leader that we've had this afternoon.
And right now, Castroneves just has to concentrate on getting in and out of the pits, having a good pit stop. Nothing he can do about Sam Hornish running away from him. He's just got to run his race now and hope that, you know, by a little bit of luck that they can catch up. Well, he does make a slight change. Changes the wing down there.
Well, he has telemetry this week. He won last week. A lot of talk about not having telemetry, and I had a chuckle. There's Herta coming in, which gives the lead to Kanaan. Second time Kanaan has led this afternoon. He led for a couple of laps back on lap 56, 57. I had to chuckle, though, because it wasn't that many years ago we didn't have telemetry. You went out there and you just raced.
That's right. You just raced and didn't know all that stuff. And obviously he didn't need it last week because he won anyway.
And here comes Kanaan, and that will give the lead to Takagi.
Well, Tony Kanaan, with this points championship in front of him, he really wants to have a good run here today and just hang in there. If he can hang in the top 3 or 4, that's his main goal right now. He knows he doesn't really have much of a chance to win this race.
Well, you have to know, you've heard drivers say, well, today I had a 3rd place car, I had a 5th place car. 91 and 31, Buddy Lazier and Al Unser Jr. almost got together in turn 1. Lazier is some 3 laps off the pace. We want to hear from Alex Barron, the only driver officially out of this competition, in the Monon Hollywood car, subbing for Felipe Giappone this season.
Alex Barron, a fuel pump put him out of the race, but Alex, you had moved up almost 10 spots. The car was running how good?
Really good. We got a good balance for the race and moving consistently up, and unfortunately we had a fuel pump let go and put us out of the race, but that's the way it goes.
How about the torrid pace being set by Sam Hornish? Have you seen anything like that lately?
Yeah, they're pretty fast out there, and they definitely got a good setup, and you know, they're running strong, but you know, I think we started a little bit behind this weekend coming in, and we were just slowly catching up, and I think in the race we made some momentum, but they're running strong.
Well, Takagi has gone 58 laps since his last pit stop, so he'll be coming to the attention of the Mo Nunn crew here momentarily, and then that will cycle Sam Hornish back to the front.
Yeah, he's going to be back in front here without much longer, but believe me, Scott Dixon's hanging right in there with him.
All right, so we've completed 119 laps, and Takagi is your leader. And once Tora comes in for his pit stop, that will turn the lead back over to Sam Hornish. You know, what do you say as a driver, Larry? You're being interviewed, somebody says, well, you know, what about that torrid page? Well, yeah, we're getting spanked pretty good out there. What possibly can you say?
That's right. Not much you can say as Takagi goes around Voigt down there on the inside. Takagi really, he did not start out. This is his worst qualifying spot for quite some time, and he did not start out up near the front of the pack. But actually, he's been picking guys off pretty quietly and running pretty good. He's running some pretty fast laps up there, 217 miles an hour.
Well, right now he's gone 61 laps, and now he's off the pace and headed for the pit area.
Yeah, he missed the pit lane.
Or did he lose fuel?
Well, he might have ran out of fuel.
Did he run out of fuel?
He might have ran out of fuel. They stretched it too long, and he ran out of fuel.
He ran out. Now that's just inexcusable. That is just inexcusable for a crew to.
Well,
took a chance because that was the only thing they really could do.
Right. Right. I thought he'd missed pit lane. I couldn't tell what part of the racetrack he was on. He's going to be able to roll on into pit area, but it's certainly going to take any chance he has of a good finish, because he's going to lose at least 2 laps while he's coasting along there at that very slow speed through turns 3 and 4.
Okay, now let's go back and reset this order as they flash by to complete 123 laps. Sam Hornish has once again assumed the lead on Takagi's misguided pit stop as they run out of fuel and they make the pit stop. Dixon now is 9.4 seconds back in second position. Herta is third after the round of pit stops, a lap off the pace. Castroneves is fourth, a lap down. Unser is fifth, a lap down, as is DeFerrin in sixth. Kanaan is seventh, eighth is Weldon, ninth is Brack, and 10th is Buell. So right now only Dixon and Hornish are on the lead lap. Yeah, Takagi has made it back. He's in the pit lane now. If he makes it back to his own stall, he may have to have some help in getting the push back there.
His whole crew is up there to push him down. It looks like he's going to get there by himself.
There he is, and half the crew has to run back to refuel the car. Live coverage from Kentucky Speedway. And some of the action shots that took place before this race began here this afternoon. And right now it's been all Sam Hornish. There's some action that we've seen earlier. Now we're back to live action, and not a very fast pit stop. We fired the engine, of course, because he was out of fuel, coasting in what we call dead stick. So Takagi was leading this race, did not qualify all that well. In fact, he started back in 12th position, but there he was off the pace, out of fuel, and coasting.
Yeah, he ran off, coming off of, or going into turn number one. He had to go clear around the racetrack. He barely coasted back to the pit area, and you're going to see here in just a second that his crew had run up to push him. Well, we didn't see it, but they had all run up the racetrack to push him down to the pits. So when he got to his pit area, there was nobody there to change the tires for him.
Exactly what happened and how they ran out of fuel. Apparently, they waved us off. They said, "No, we're too busy. We're going to talk now."
Yeah, we don't want
Maybe
to
they're too frustrated to talk right now.
I was going to say, we don't want to talk about any dumb mistakes that we just made, and basically that's what happened. They just made a mistake and let him stay out on the racetrack for too long. Now then we know that you can't run more than 58 laps under green, or you're going to be out of fuel, because that's when he ran out.
Keep in mind, during that round of pit stops, the second scheduled pit stop, Herta assumed third position with a good, quick Andretti green pit stop. Al Unser moved around Castroneves as well to fourth position. Now we have, right now, let's reset where we are on lap 130. Hornish leads by 11.5 seconds over Dixon. Herta is third. Everybody else is a lap down. Herta's a lap down in third. Unser's a lap down in fourth. Then it's Castroneves in fifth. DeFerrin is sixth. Then Kanaan seventh. Weldon eighth. Ninth is Buell. 10th is Breck. Schechter is 11th. Sharp is 12th. Then Yasukawa, Ray, Fisher, Rice. Now Fisher, let's go back and say that Sharp is 2 laps off the pace in 12th position. Yasukawa is 2 laps off the pace. Ray is 2 laps back. Fisher 2 laps back. Rice 2 laps back. Then we have A.J. Foyt in 17th, 3 laps off the pace. Lazier is 3 laps off the pace. Takagi now, because he coasted in and out of fuel, is 5 laps off the pace. And only one driver's out of this race, and that's Alex Barron. You know, a couple of races back, we talked about we had never seen a driver lead every lap in the Indy Racing League event, which Scott Dixon did. We've never seen a driver lap the entire field.
No. And it could happen. I don't think it'll happen here today, but Sam Hornish...
if something happens mechanically to Dixon...
Yeah. Sam Hornish has certainly been the dominant force here today. There's no question about it. While you were giving that rundown, we saw Sarah Fisher go around Gilles DeFerrin. So she's obviously worked on her race car and got it running pretty fast, but just a little bit late in the day as she's already 2 laps. Oh, Dixon almost got into the side of Al Unser Jr. right there as he was trying to go around him. He hit that little bump. The front end washed out on him, and he had to get out of the throttle to keep him running into Al Unser.
Remember the last race out. Remember all the laps that Scott led last week and had some contact in the pit area that knocked the gearbox loose.
Yeah, I mean, anything can happen, and obviously that pit area accident last week put him out of the event, and he was pretty dominant. We've seen he's been pretty dominant a couple of times, and I'm sure he's not happy to see that Gen 4 engine because it's kind of spoiling his little playhouse here.
Talking about contact and pit action last week, let's update you on Anton Julian. He was the rear tire changer on Al Unser Jr.'s car that was struck and we thought was gravely injured. Thankfully, it was a knee injury. He had knee surgery this week in Indianapolis. Had some abrasions and cuts and a concussion, but nothing life-threatening. And really, all in all, after the initial reports, he's in very good condition.
Yeah, he's supposed to be released from the hospital today, so that's good news for Anton Julian.
We'll go back to his apartment in Indianapolis to convalesce, and we'll see him later this season. Joe LeBaron there presently in 6th position.
Yeah, he's quietly had a pretty good day, but as far as the point standings go, he and Castroneves, Kanaan and Dixon, all 4 up in the top 6. That's where they are in the top 7, and that's where they need to be to continue their points battle. But
before that pit stop, Larry, there was about a 9-second gap between 1st and 2nd. That gap now is approaching 14 seconds.
Yeah, well, you know, as we've said, Sam Hornish, as you ride along with him, has just been totally dominant here today. They've had a race car that's handled extremely well all year long. He led at least one race with that Gen 3 engine, which nobody thought they would see all year long. He made some spectacular runs, especially like at Richmond and some of the shorter, low horsepower racetracks. But boy, once he's had this and at Michigan, where he's had the Gen 4 engine, he's been pretty awesome.
He's back there in 3rd position. Yasukawa lap car. Dixon is now Dixon is leading it. Herta is.
Dixon he was trying to get around those lap cars. Now then, Allinger Jr. back on the outside of him. He just got down underneath those cars, tried to get under him down there in that turns 1 and 2 where it's so rough. The car bounced around on him a little bit, and he had to climb out of the throttle. When he did that, he gave Allinger that big run on him. But now then he's back up to speed. He's got that thing going again, but he's having to run right through the bottom of the racetrack where it's not as fast down in 1 and 2.
By Yasukawa now. You made the observation early on in the race that it did not seem like he was getting through traffic as well as Sam Hornish. And that has been a big difference because right now that gap between 1st and 2nd has gone to well over 14 seconds.
Yeah, he's having trouble right here. He's trying to run that bottom groove, get around Yasukawa, and Yasukawa's giving him room, but unfortunately in 1 and 2, that middle groove or that top groove is actually the fastest way around the racetrack. Oh, Al
Almost
Jr.
contact there.
See, that's what your closing
Jr.
speed.
had to check up there.
Yeah, these closing speeds are so fast. You just got to be so careful. And Al Jr. was right on the ball though when he got out of the throttle when he had to.
Well, now your leader has over a half lap lead over these cars right here. 2nd place is Dixon.
Dixon's going to go around him this time. Because no, he didn't. I thought he had a good enough run through 1 and 2 that he was going to go around him down the back straightaway, but he did not get a good enough run to get by him on the outside.
The flag being displayed again at the start-finish line.
Well, Yasukawa gave him room. He moved down to the racetrack. See, he's clear down there where out of the way, the real fast groove. Most of the guys are running up there where Dixon was that time, and he just did not get through the corner all that great.
Now he's going to make a move to the high side. Thought he was going to bring Al Jr. with him.
Yeah, he probably will. I mean, Al Jr. is going to go by him next. Yasukawa is getting the layover flag, and he is moving down on the racetrack.
Allinger Jr. now back in 4th position. They're all chasing Sam Hornish. They're all a lap off the pace except for Scott Dixon.
You join us back here in the studio, of course. Sam Hornish Jr. doing an absolutely superb job in that new Chevrolet motor, and we're going to go on. That's going to run and run here. Still with me are Paul Cherry and Tim Scott. You've got to say half a lap lead, Paul. If someone had said to Chevrolet that by involving Cosworth this year they might be able to generate that amount of forward motion, I think they'd have probably done it a long time ago.
Yeah, they came out last year with the Generation 3 engine hoping to get the advantage, but unfortunately it was clearly a little bit behind. But let's just look at Sam for a second. He's had 5 top 10 finishes this year with the Generation 3 engine, so he's got a well-sorted car underneath him, and that is making the difference today.
It is a feature. Panther, Tim, always seemed to get him going good. The last 2 years he's been champion. You know, you never see any real steering input from him. The car always looks stable, even on a bumpy motocross track like this place. I mean, it really is a bumpy old place, but he is still the steadiest driver out there. He's doing the steadiest job out there, and this is typical Sam Hornish, isn't it?
Well, for me, I'm very pleased to see him getting to dominate a race, because his ability has shone the last 2 years, and he's been hamstrung so far this year. But he always squeezes the maximum out of the package he's got. He's done it all year, and now it's just desserts because he's going to hopefully win this race.
Well, indeed, but how long is it going to be before Honda and Toyota are starting to scream about the new Chevy, I wonder? We'll take a break, and you can think about that while we're away. You join us, and we're under a yellow now, racing, and you have to say that most of us here thought it might happen out on the track because it's so bumpy, but it happened in pit lane. Take a look at this. So we have a fire in the hole. Number 15, Kenny Brack, brings out our first yellow, and this bonfire just got going more and more. You might have seen Kenny Brack a little bit earlier on in the race when in pit lane him and Helio Castroneves almost had a bit of a coming together, one on the way in, one on the way out, but this has definitely put an end to that Honda engine. And Paul Cherry sitting alongside me here, you did actually say when a Honda goes, it goes, and that is a major oil fire because you don't see methanol burning. And look at the fire truck tailing it all the way along pit lane. They're very good marshals here, aren't they, for this sort of thing?
They're certainly on top of that big time, but unfortunately we've had, you know, well in excess of 100 laps now without a yellow. These engines are running at maximum, as we've seen.
Tim, one of the problems, of course, being is some of the drivers have been out there for a fair old amount of time. They're at the end of their fuel, and they've got the pit lane actually closed at the moment while they clear this mess up. These aren't live pictures. We're a little bit further advanced to this. This is what happened in our break a moment ago. But that could be a problem strategy-wise for a few drivers.
Well, certainly they're saying that Scott Sharp has gone 58 laps since his last fuel stop. He's barred from entering the pit lane. It could be a real problem. We could have some cars stranded out on the circuit.
Well, as you can see straight away, pit lane has come open now, and everyone diving down pit lane behind your race leader, Sam Hornish Jr. He was half a lap in front. This is going to close everybody back up, of course, and well, depending on how they get in and out of their pit lane, they're still sweeping some of the mess up in the middle there, but pretty well handled. Let's go back live with our commentators just to get the latest from trackside.
Doesn't seem that way very much.
Saying that tongue-in-cheek?
No, I'm not. I think if he got in front of him, this racetrack is tough enough that he might be able to at least hold him back for a few laps.
Well, I hope that happens because I want to see how long it takes for him to get around him.
Well,
so Sam Hornish takes the lead into the pit area on this final pit stop here with lap 152 now completed. Back up on the racetrack, and only 2 drivers will be on the lead lap as we will resume this race. And Larry, it didn't happen the way you were kind of hoping it would happen, that Hornish got out in front of Dixon.
Well, I don't know. I'm not too sure. There was at least one red and white car that got out in front of him. I thought it might have been Scott Dixon. We can't tell from this angle.
Cycle through timing and scoring, and they flash down in front of us here.
But, yeah, we had a chance to have a better look at him, but no, he's still. That must have been one of the.
That was Schechter.
Must have been Schechter who was in front of him going in there and beat him out. But I couldn't tell which one it was. I could tell it was one of the two, but I couldn't tell exactly which one it was.
Greg Ray did not stop that time. That's interesting. He was back in 10th position.
Well, he's probably going to try. I mean, his only hope, and it's not really a silly thing. It may sound silly, but if he stays out there, he gets to come around. He will be on the lead lap again, I believe. And then once he's on the lead lap, if there was another yellow, he could stop then and wouldn't be any worse off. So it may not be as...
well, he's gone 39 laps, so he would have another...
well, they'd have...
Close to 20 laps.
They'd have to be a yellow in the next 20, 25 laps, but... hey, it's one of the chances you take if you're...
well, he has nothing else he can do right now because he's back in 10th position.
Exactly. So he really loses nothing by doing that. Not a lot, anyway.
Had 6 different leaders this afternoon. Sam Hornish led the first 53 circuits until the first pit stop. Kaswanevich led for a couple laps before Kanan made his pit stop. Takagi has led a couple of times today. Herta led for about a lap, back on lap 113, so a total of 6 different leaders. And Hornish has led until he's made his pit stops.
Oh, looks like we had somebody that might have gotten a little bit of an injury during that pit stop. Another pit crew looks like they're looking at his right knee. They're going to haul him back, maybe have it looked at, but you can see that he's okay. But they're certainly favoring that right leg, and they've got the little knee protector off, so he might have had something happen to his right knee during that last pit stop.
While the pace car remains out, Johnny Rutherford, the 3-time Indy 500 champion, drives the yellow Corvette, but you're right along with your leader. Live coverage continues from Sparta, Kentucky, the Kentucky Speedway, and we'll have one lap to go before we turn them loose.
Well, we've got just a second. We want to offer our condolences to Keith Hutton's family down in Australia. He was killed in a sprint car accident here in America last week. His wife Jenny, they moved up here about 10 years ago, originally from Brisbane, Australia. So we just want to offer our condolences to his family.
Raced against him years ago.
That's right. I raced against him a long time ago when I was racing midgets down in Australia, and he came up here a few years ago, has worked on a lot of cars, and was fatally injured last week in a sprint car accident in Iowa.
So lap 155 now complete. We will take the green flag as they complete lap 156. Now they're saying no start this time by. And Brian Barnhart thought the start was too slow, so they waved off the start. We'd like to be able to hear from Kenny Breck. There he is.
Down on pit road, why?
Well, because he's caught fire yesterday. I turned into pit road, and then it's too late to stop, so I drove it down there and let them take care of it.
Well, it's all okay, though.
Jack LaRue caught up with Kenny Breck as he brought the...
And they really did. They did a terrific job. They put that thing out in about 2 seconds once they stopped.
Not only that, Larry, you should look at the field summary. Not only that, but they contained the fluids, both from the fire extinguishers, the water, and also from the oil.
That's right. They didn't get out on the racetrack. They didn't slow down anything. So they did exactly what they're trained to do. They put out the fire and they contained everything right there in a very small area.
Well, now we're showing Brian Herta in third position on the lead lap. So this time they come around a little faster to take the green.
So what he did is he beat him out. He might have short fueled, got back out in front of them, and then when they allow you to clear around and catch up with the back of the field, he might have gained his lap back just because he put short fuel. Oh, look at Dixon trying to get around Al Jr. He knows he's got to get up there and around those lap cars if he's going to challenge Sam Hornish.
He couldn't do it.
Well, Al Jr. did nothing wrong. He gave him room on the bottom of the racetrack. Now then he's going to go by him, as Al Jr. just didn't get off of turn 3 nearly as well as Scott Dixon did.
Well, Sam Hornish will pick up the 2 bonus points for leading the most laps, and this can certainly scramble the point standings. I mean, coming in, Scott Dixon was 24 points behind Tony Kanaan. Now, Scott, of course, Chris Seaman got hit on his left knee. Chris Seaman was the crew member that we saw down there on that emergency cart. Got hit on the left knee, but he is okay.
Yeah, he did get. Yeah, he had a left knee or right knee injury. They're going to take him in and have him looked at, but didn't appear to be anything too serious. So.
What I was saying before we get that report on Chris was that Scott Dixon fell from the top of the standings last week with that DNF when they had the gearbox problems. He's 24 points behind going in. And Tony Kanaan was leading by 7, but we're going to scramble the points a bit again this afternoon.
Yes, we are. DeFerrin is running back in 9th position, so he's going to lose a little bit of distance there. Castroneves in 5th, and Kanaan in 6th. So Dixon is going to gain on all of those guys if things continue the way they are. And Brian Herta, by virtue of short fueling, beating out everybody else in that lead pack, getting back on the lead lap is only 6 seconds. I'm kind of wondering why some of the other guys didn't do that same thing. That seems to be like a pretty smart move to me now. The only thing is, if you're one of the points guys, you couldn't do that because you don't want to take a chance on another yellow. He obviously had to take a chance that there will be another yellow or he might have to pit again.
Well, Herta won at Kansas.
But look at Kanaan now, then he's all over Castroneves as he's trying to gain that spot. And remember, those guys are battling each other in the points race. So Kanaan trying to gain that 5th spot from Castroneves.
We've had 2 winners this season that were sub-drivers. Herta for Dario Franchitti in the Andretti Green team. And then we had the win by Alex Barron for Mo Nunn, subbing for Felipe Giafone.
Giafone, right.
Yeah. Contact almost between 91 and 10. That would be Schechter and the number 91 car of Lazier. That's the second time that Lazier's been very close to contact after this afternoon.
Yeah, and turn 1 is the place we talked about where it's very tough. They were riding along.
Right there. They're back there in the 17th position. He is 3 laps off the pace, and just a dismal season for this race team.
It's been absolutely awful. They had hoped with this new engine they'd turn things around, but obviously the engine is not their only problem. They got some other problems that they've got to get straightened out.
Steering wheel.
Yeah.
That thing jump around.
Yeah, that thing's. I think they've obviously missed the setup of the shocks and springs. Shocks and springs so important when you've got bumps in a racetrack. They don't have it set up quite right, or they'd be getting through there a little better.
This is the battle for 5th position. You're right along with Tony Kanaan. He's back there in 6th. Castro-Neves is now 5th.
Yeah, and again, because of the nature of this racetrack, you don't see them running side by side nearly as much as you do at a lot of these big tri-ovals. He tried to run a little bit higher than Castro-Neves did through turns 1 and 2. It looks like he's going to do exactly the same thing again. But when you do that, you don't get the run. Now then he gets off the corner a little better, but he's too far behind to get that run to get around him down the back straightaway.
Well, since that restart, as we watch this battle for position, Hornish has not been able to put that gap between 1st and 2nd. Dixon now just a 2nd off the pace. But when you realize, Larry, that 3 of the last 5 races are on 1.5 miles, well, we call them ovals, or they're more like tri-ovals. It doesn't speak well when you see how well Hornish is doing this afternoon.
Well, no, it's going to be very interesting to see if he can take this same kind of dominance to these other big racetracks. Of course, the next race next week at Nazareth is the most oddly shaped racetrack, even more odd than I think than Gateway was last week, because it has about 5 turns in it instead of just 2.
Yeah, it's not. They call it an oval, but it's not even close to an oval.
No, it's nothing close to an oval. It's
a square.
It's kind of a square with a dog leg in it.
With an extra turn.
Yeah, exactly. I'm not sure exactly what you do call it, but it's a very difficult racetrack.
It's a handling racetrack. You better dial that thing in because it's not horsepower.
No, it's not horsepower. You gotta get that thing dialed in where you can make some passes. But Tony Kanaan right now, just kind of motoring along there in 6th spot, has nothing for Castro-Neves. He caught him one time, made an attempt, but since that time he's actually fallen back a few car lengths.
31 laps to go. We will not need to see the leaders back on pit road because they have made their final pit stop.
Yeah, Greg Ray is the only guy who will have to make another pit stop, and he's going to have to make one pretty shortly because he did not pit during that last round of pit stops.
Now 30 laps to go. We've gone 170, 30 laps to go. The lead is 1.5 seconds, 1.5 seconds between 1st and 2nd. Herta is in 3rd, the only 3 drivers on the lead lap. Al Unser a lap down in 4th. 5th is Castro-Neves, 6th is Kanaan, and Buell having a good ride. Best ride for Robbie Buell this year. Weldon is 8th, 9th is DeFerrin, Ray is 10th. Schechter is 11th. Those drivers are a lap off the pace. Those 2 laps down would be Rice in 12th, Sharp in 13th, Yasukawa in 14th, and it's Fisher. 3 laps off the pace. Foyt is 16th, then Lazier. Takagi is now 4 laps off the pace. He lost about 3 laps when he ran out of fuel.
Yeah, he most of those laps, he was running pretty strong. He was only a lap down at the time. Well, he was leading at the time he actually ran out, but he had been running about a lap down most of the race, along with everybody from about 5th through 4th through 10th or 11th.
Hornish is picking up about a 1/10 of a second a lap. And Herta is back there in 3rd position. He now is almost 12 seconds behind the leader. We ride again along with the number 11, the Big Gulp 711 car of Tony Kanaan. Kanaan, the point leader, coming in today, now a lap off the pace, back in 6th position.
And he's shifting gears. He's running 1 gear through 3 and 4. He shifted higher going down the front straightaway. So he's trying a few different things, trying to find a way to get around Castro-Neves, trying to see if he runs the lower gear, if he can run higher RPM, gain a little speed, or maybe run in the higher gear. He's tried everything so far to no avail.
There's the current running order, although the top 3 are on the lead lap. Well, the IRL race control calling number 52. That would be Buddy Rice for chopping. I tell you, Brian Barnhart will simply not tolerate anything that's not kosher and sportsmanship out there.
Well, about 3 years ago, we had several crashes all because people were blocking and chopping. Remember Greg Ray running for the lead down in Texas got in a huge crash as somebody was trying to block him down there. And so they, at that time, they told everybody they were not going to stand for any more chopping or blocking. And I think Scott Sharp at one point got a $50,000 fine. Several other guys have been warned. So he's pretty serious when he says, you know, we're not going to stand for that. And I think most of them realize that now. They get one warning. The second time they get pulled into the pit area.
At this juncture in the race, Larry, you talked about settling in. You're riding with Tony Kanaan back there in 6th position. As you indicated, he really has nothing. I mean, these guys are just kind of out there pedaling as fast as they can go. Yeah. They have nothing to offer anybody else.
Yeah, they're pedaling as fast as they can go with no way to really figure things out to get around anybody. You can see that Kanaan, he's shifting gears. He's putting into a higher gear. He's getting through turns 3 and 4 better than he is 1 and 2. So he's getting higher RPM, so he has to shift into a higher gear. But he shifts down through 1 and 2 because he's not as fast there. He gets out of the throttle and he needs more horsepower down the back straightaway.
Well, as we said, as you ride along with Tony Kanaan, Hornish continues to pick up a 1/10 of a second a lap, and now 2 seconds in front of Scott Dixon. And Herta now back in 3rd position, and he is some 12 or 13 seconds behind your leader. And the rest of the field all a lap off the pace. Herta now 13.01 seconds back in 3rd.
Well, this is 4th, 5th, and 6th you're looking at right here. Al Unser Jr., first car up there, then Castro Neves, then Kanaan. 4th, 5th, and 6th. Of course, Al Unser Jr. Still somewhat in the points hunt, but not nearly as much as the other two. The other two desperately would like to finish ahead of him for points reasons.
Well, right now, Dixon will gain some points because he'll be in 2nd position. Herta was not a factor in the point standings. Unser Jr., as you indicated, really not. Castro Neves back in 5th position would be the first of the real threats for the championship. 19 laps now to go, 181 now complete. But Hornish, if he wins this thing, will pick up 52 points, 50 for winning and 2 for leading the most laps.
Wow, did you just see that? He's running at the rate of 195 mile an hour average right now. The previous record here, 180 miles an hour. And that's completely because there have been so few yellows. That one yellow is all they've had. And so the average speed for this race is 15 miles an hour faster than it's ever been. And that plays...
This well could be the fastest average speed ever for an Indy Racing League event.
Well, and it's very taxing on the drivers when you get no yellows. I mean, you're out there for 2 hours, you're pulling 4 Gs through these corners, and you're doing it for 2 straight hours, and especially as rough as it is.
Alex Barron won at 180.9 miles an hour, the average speed up in Michigan. That was the fastest, so we're well over that this afternoon.
Yeah, and once again, Tony Kanaan. Tony Kanaan will fall back, he'll gain, but the problem is he can gain only ever so slightly on Castro Neves. And when he catches him, the air is taken off the front wings, and he has to back out, and then he loses 3 or 4 car lengths. He just doesn't have that big oomph to get around him, and I think the only way he's going to get that is if he catches some traffic and gets a break. Robbie Buell right behind them. He's in that hunt too for those positions. He's running in 7th, and he's only about 8 or 10 car lengths behind these 3 guys.
That by far is the best ride for Robbie Buell this season. Robbie has won twice in the Racing League competition, but he was saddled with the old Gen 3 Chevrolet and simply did not qualify well, did not race well throughout the season. His teammate Sarah Fisher, who actually won the pole position here a year ago and finished 8th, is back in 14th position, and she's 2 laps back.
Yeah, and she had some real problems earlier in the race. We saw her, I don't know, a few minutes ago battling with some of these guys. It looked like she's back up to speed now, but it's just way too long. She's running 217 miles an hour laps right now, and that's as fast as anybody on the racetrack. As a matter of fact, last time by, it was the fastest lap on the racetrack. But she just got so far behind for the first segment of the race, she's never going to be able to make it up.
Well, 13 laps to go, and once again, almost a 1/10 of a second per lap, or in that range. Actually, it's almost 2.4 seconds now between 1st and 2nd, and then back there like 11 seconds between 2nd and 3rd. So this is one of the rare occasions in the Indy Racing League competition that we've not seen competition.
Well, that's right.
Late in the race.
We're so used to seeing these people battle back and forth, running side by side, making passes for the lead in every corner, that it's, you know, you might say, well, this is not as good a race as we'd like to see. But when you get a guy like Sam Hornish, who's done his homework, has gone out and got their act together, I mean, it's very, very tough to keep up with a guy like him.
The Super Tex, A.J. Foyt, you can barely see him behind that yellow post. A.J., the granddad of A.J. the fourth. A.J. the fourth right now 3 laps off the pace, back in 16th position. Hornish now with 11 laps to go.
And he's had a
Realistically, we were watching that battle with Tony Kanaan. He needs to get around Castro Neves.
Oh, yeah. Believe me, he'd love nothing better than get around. Ooh, look at this.
Yes.
Lazier and Foyt side by side. Foyt.
Oh, almost together again, and they do get together. They actually did touch right in front of the leader. They were right in front of Sam Hornish.
Sam Hornish, that probably scared Sam Hornish about as bad as anything he's seen. He doesn't need those two guys to be crashing into each other right in front of him, as he's, you know, he's got a pretty nice lead right now. And but man, oh man, and when they touched, that could have been a disastrous turn of events for Sam Hornish.
You think the spotter said, hey, get out of it and let him go by you, or the IRL probably called and said, get out of the way.
I think Pancho Carter, who is Sam Hornish's spotter, probably had A.J. Foyt's spotter by the neck telling him to get the heck out of the way. I don't think it was a very casual conversation.
And that cost about a second in the gap between first and second. He now eases on by Lazier. So that's what you call dodging a bullet.
He absolutely dodged a bullet. And once again, it looked like Buddy Lazier. We've heard several times that he's almost made contact with people, but it looked to me like coming off that corner, the car bounced, and he just got up into A.J. Foyt the fourth and made a little contact. Luckily, not anything very heavy, but it's certainly, when you see smoke fly with these things, that's pretty heavy contact. It's not good.
Hornish, if he wins this thing, will have led 180 of 200 laps, only losing it on pit stops. And of course, he made pit stops under green. When we saw Scott Dixon lead every lap a few races back, they were all making pit stops under yellow together.
Right, and that's how you maintain the lead. But when he has completely dominated this race. Scott Dixon is the only guy who could even come close. And look at this laps that Scott Dixon is
third right now on the lead lists, the laps led list this season.
And that's virtually because of just 2 races. I mean, here and Michigan.
Race control is now in the ear of Buddy Lazier, saying let 9 go by, because right now only about a second, 1.3 seconds separating first and second. You know, Scott might catch him and close in, but closing in and passing are 2 different things.
Well, it's going to be very difficult with only 5 laps to go. Sam Hornish is not the kind of a guy that's going to... there is Scott Dixon, though. He is closing that gap ever so slightly. But Sam Hornish knows exactly what he's got to do to win this race. And believe me, like you said, he might let him get close, but I don't think he's going to be very easy to get past at this point in the race.
And if he gets any closer, we could have a gap less than a second, which in the record book looks like a close race, but realistically, this has been far from a close race.
Yeah, it looks good in the statistics, but in reality, these 2 guys have put on a clinic, and especially Sam Hornish has absolutely just dominated this race. And it's unbelievable that Scott Dixon could be that much better than everybody else here and still run second.
2 laps to go, and this would break the tie for the most wins in a career with the Indy Racing League, and this will be his 9th victory. Surprisingly, only his 3rd career pole position.
Well, as we talked earlier, that team does not concentrate a lot on qualifying. They run very, very few laps in qualifying trim, except maybe at Indianapolis. Their whole game plan is to win the race, and they qualify, and their plan is to be in the top 8 or 10, but winning that pole is not their primary concern for the weekend.
Well, he will have led 180 of 200 laps here this afternoon on his final circuit. The crowd standing up. They don't need the seat now as they're cheering Sam Hornish in that Gen 4. And whoa, shades of things to come the rest of this season in the Indy Racing League. So Sam Hornish takes the victory 1.17 seconds over Scott Dixon. And keep in mind that this team actually lost Rocket.
Yeah.
Kevin Blanche left the team.
There was
crew chief.
The crew chief, and a lot of guys thought that when he left they might change, but certainly hadn't.
There's Gary Pettigo.
He can't talk right now, but I'm just so proud of this team, and I'm proud of Sam. He's such a great race driver, and we put a good car under him, and you saw what he can do. He's the greatest.
Gary, you've seen dominant performances by this driver in the past. How does this one compare?
Well, it's as good as any I've seen. This is probably the best one. As a matter of fact, I don't know how many laps we led. I know we led a lot. I know he just had his foot in it the whole race. He's an awesome young man, and he's an awesome race driver. I'm just proud as I can be of him.
Gary Pettigo, a car dealer from Indianapolis, one of a number of owners of this race team. We've talked about that in the past. And here comes some donuts.
Yeah, well, yeah, they've got a lot of.
Watch that, he'll break the suspension because of that banking right there. So he runs backwards down the racetrack, and here comes another donut here at the start-finish line.
Yeah, he's had a little practice with all this stuff, and it looks like he might have killed the engine. Sounds like he killed the engine.
Well, so much for the donuts.
Oh well, I don't think that'll be his.
He's going to take the wheel off. We're going to walk to victory lane.
So much for victory lane. This is good enough for me, he says.
He stands up, hands above his head.
55,000 people here today, and here comes the crew.
I
don't think that's his style, but you got to believe that all those people here today got their money's worth, because he did one terrific job.
Gary Pettigo said, I don't know how many laps he led. Well, we do. He led 180 of the 200 unofficially, and he's going to get the right on the shoulders back to victory lane.
Well, it's great to see. He is, as we all know, he's not a very emotional guy. I mean, he won his very first IndyCar race, and it was like he had just won, three six-pack of Pepsis or something. You know, he just didn't show very much emotion. But
keep in mind, Larry, that this may go a long way in determining where he is racing next season and which team he's racing for.
Well, you know,
Chevrolet Power now. To keep him out in front, he could stay right here, or he could go to another team with Chevrolet.
Right. He wants to be loyal to Panther Racing, but there's two things they got to do. Number one, either Chevrolet or Panther has to step up and pay this young man what he's worth. He's not going to sign for a paltry amount of money, because he's had too many other offers from too many other teams for a great deal of money. So either Panther.
What happened? We had a real good run today. Everything kind of panned out the way we needed it to. I was hoping that the race went green flag all the way. We had a heck of a run going. Pennzoil Panther guys have worked so hard this year. I'm just so happy for these guys to get a win and get started on trying to get back in the championship point standings.
Starting the way the season did, they say those type of seasons build character. Enough character building?
Yeah, I had enough character building. I had a lot of fun regardless. We had good runs at a lot of places we went to, just came up short and had things not go our way. Now that we've got the horsepower and don't have to have everything just perfect, it gives us fun. It gives us a good chance to go out there and have days like today.
You talked about the fact you move into 5th place in the point standings. There's Nazareth coming up, and then back-to-back 3 super speedway races where horsepower is all about it, and you've done well on horsepower tracks.
Yeah, you know, we get through Nazareth, and I like Nazareth. I haven't had a lot of good luck there. Hoping to turn that around this year, and then we go to 3 tracks that we won at last year, so we're excited about that.
A lot of decisions you're going to have to make in the next couple of weeks. Any closer to your timetable, Sam?
You know, we keep getting closer, but, you know, the decision's yet to be made, and, you know, days like today, it's easy to put that stuff out of your head and just think about today.
Gary?
His 9th win, career win over Scott Dixon and Brian Herta.
How disheartening is it to see Hornish in that new Chevy power plant having so much muscle today?
I don't know. I don't think, you know, obviously you're not going to have a good race every time. I think we had a fairly decent car. Obviously we had the second best car. You know, the whole engine deal is still, you know, I think, I don't know. Obviously we need to find something. But, you know, Toyota's done a great job all year. You know, obviously Chevy had to find a lot. Seems like they found a pretty good benchmark, but I want to thank the team and Target. You know, obviously we had the next best car to do.
You've got 4 races left, and we don't have the championship points at our disposal, but you know you gained a lot of ground. You're really back in the thick of this. I think you're in 3rd place now.
Yeah, that's what we needed. You know, obviously, you know, Sam's not really in the championship fight, so we needed to concentrate on getting points. It was the best we could do today. You know, maybe the win with the extra 10 points would have helped, but it wasn't the day for it.
Well, I'll tell you, I just was told in my ear, you're 12 points out of the championship lead with 4 to go. That's over 200 points up for grabs, so you're right in the middle of it. You got to love that feeling, I would think.
Yeah, it's a lot better than when we came in, so, you know, that's good. At least it's tightened up, and, you know, we got Nazareth coming up next week. Enjoy Nazareth and can't wait to get it.
All right, we look forward to it. Thank you. Good job.
Excellent.
Well, you take a look at the unofficial results. Harnish, Dixon, and Herta, the top 3 on the lead circuit. Those lap down, Unser, Kasnevitz, Kanan, Buell, Weldon, as you take a look at the rest of the field as we are live here in Kentucky.
So there it is then, the result from Kentucky, and what a race it was for Sam Hornish and Chevrolet. They're right back on the money now. There's no doubt about what's going on. We've got lots more analysis for you here in the studio with Paul Cherry and Tim Scott. We'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back. Before we start talking about the Belterra 300 that we've just seen, I have to tell you that yesterday Mark Taylor failed to make the start of the Infiniti Pro Series race here at Kentucky after putting the Panther Racing Dallara on pole again. Mark went down with a bug, possibly food poisoning, and felt too ill to compete. The race victory went to Jeff Simmons, but Mark still has a healthy lead in the championship, so Mark, get well soon. The rest of the result though, it leaves Mark Taylor still with a substantial lead in the championship with 364 points. Jeff Simmons is in 2nd place with 308 now. Diego Medeiros is 3rd with 264, and Ed Carpenter is in 4th with 263. That, of course, was the Infiniti Pro Series, and get well soon, Mark, if you would, on that. You've been doing us proud here in Britain, but let's talk now about this Belterra 300. And doing the Panther team absolutely brilliantly was Sam Hornish. We've covered the Chevy versus Honda versus Toyota thing, I think, to death this week. We'll see how that evolves with our slightly cynical view of how much Honda and Toyota are going to put up with over the next few rounds, bearing in mind there's only 4 left. Let's talk about the drive with Sam Hornish, if we may first. Tim, if I can come to you. I mean, it was another one of those, what I think is a typical Sam Hornish kind of a drive. It was faultless. It was one of those ones where he did what he had to do when he had to do it, and then the car looked absolutely perfect on the track despite the bumps. And Hornish, calm, cool, collective, and very, very fast.
Yes, it was an exemplary performance, essentially. Never put a wheel wrong. He had some close shaves with some other back markers, but he just maximises what he's got underneath him on a given day, whether that be 6th place or today. He had the opportunity to win, went for the jugular, and got the victory.
Going to be interesting to see where he goes from here. He's just going to go out and win races, isn't he, at the end of the day, because he's jumped up from 7th place to 5th and given himself a bit of an outsider's chance. But the battle at the front of the field, Paul, is for this championship is hotter than it's ever been, isn't it?
Yes, and the nice thing with the IRL is there's a big points gap from 1st to 2nd. Now, as we've said, the politics will always come into play because Sam is got to win races if he wants to win the championship, and that is sincerely going to muck up Toyota and Honda's party with regard to making their championship claim.
Well, we can go now to the man, Brian Herta, the American in the race that has done pretty well today as well.
Today, a top 3 finish, first Honda across the line. You're smiling an awful lot.
Yeah, it was, well, you know, it's been a tough few weeks, and especially last week with the accident. And I just want to say hi to Anton out there. I know, he had surgery, and he's doing real good. We're all happy to see that, and look forward to him being back at the track. And you know, for the Archipelago Motorola crew, this is awesome. I mean, everybody's talking about the new Chevy, but that old Honda's still pretty good too.
And you were flat out all the way around. What about in the beginning of the race? Did you have a couple of slight handling issues?
I don't think anything more than anybody. I mean, this is a tough place to get, to keep your car underneath you, and I think that's. We didn't have, in lap time, we didn't have probably a top 10 car, but in handling, we were able to run wide open pretty much every lap, even in traffic, and that was the difference. I mean, my car was awesome, and probably one of the best races I've ever driven. That's why I'm smiling so much. I'm really happy.
And Gary, we're all pretty happy about the fact that the injured crewman, Mr. Anton, is doing all right, and I think it's kind of nice. He doesn't even drive for that team, and he's concerned about him.
It's a great gesture, obviously.
Helio Castroneves. A week ago at this time, you were on the fence at St. Louis. No fence today, but only 8 points out of the championship lead. Is that the big benefit out of this day?
Absolutely. Like I said before, unfortunately, when you don't have the car to win, well, finish the position that you think you are. And I think fifth, it's not the best, but it's not the worst. I mean, I know I've been worse before. So great team effort. Hope Chris, one of the Gilles guys, he's all right. Hopefully he recover for the next race. And but great jump from the championship, as you just said.
Let me ask you quickly about, you've battled with Hornish in the past last year for the championship that went to the final lap of the final race. He definitely looks like he's back now. How much will that play into the championship mix over the last 4 races in your mind?
Well, what I understand, he's not back. He's ahead. But, again, it's good because right now we have only 4 races to go, and basically, hopefully he's not going to keep doing what he's doing and what he just did here, but we're still a lot of points ahead, but we can never count less those guys, so let's keep working hard.
Indeed. Well, he'll be teaching that to Gilles de Ferran, of course, who's slipped right down the order as far as the championship's concerned at this particular point, because I can see de Ferran has dropped from 2nd down to 4th place in the championship now. Castroneves has moved up 1 place, despite finishing where he did in the race, which was 5th overall at the end. But a great shout there for Brian Herter. Brian Herter finishing in 3rd place, and you can see just how pleased he was as well. Sam Hornish, of course, winning. Scott Dixon in 2nd place. And we've got quite a lot, actually, to talk about here in these last few minutes. So luckily, we have got a few seconds to talk about it. Gilles de Ferran, Castroneves, Penske. Let's talk about Penske. This is going to be a problem for them, seeing this turnaround, isn't it?
Well, so as I said before, 50 points for the win. If you don't win, there's 10 points missing out of your total all the time. They've done an exemplary job. They started on the 2nd row here, but it didn't come with them for the race. Maybe the championship will slip away from them for a 2nd year.
Well, luck is always something that we get in IRL. There was a lot of luck that we didn't get more yellows this week, of course. None out on the racetrack at all. But you've got to say, the only fire that we did see today was the big one in pit lane from Kenny Brack. Now, Kenny Brack's Honda motor just suddenly let go. And Paul, we don't often see them go, but this is a spectacular old bonfire under Kenny Brack's motor car, isn't it?
Yes, and unfortunately, once those things start, especially with an oil fire, the speed they're going, it fans the flames, so it gets rather worse before it gets anywhere near better.
The right decision to drive down pit lane with a bonfire going on. I mean, he had the fire truck following him all the way down there. He decided to take it to his pit, didn't he, this one? Well, you built it, you put it out.
Well, I have to say that the best place is really the pit. It seems a bit crazy to bring it in there with all the fuel, but they've got more fire extinguishers than fuel. As you can see, the job's out in a second.
So that's Kenny Brack putting fire into his game and doing a few quid's worth of damage as far as that motor car is concerned. Now then, the other one that got hold of me was AJ Foyt and Buddy Lazier out on the racetrack. I mean, we very, very nearly had a major incident here. Let's take a look at it, and maybe, Tim, you'll talk us through this particular situation. I mean, just what was all this about?
Well, both of them obviously battling for position at the back of the field, and they touched there, and that is an amazing stroke of luck that there wasn't a huge accident which could well have caught up Sam Hornish.
Well, Sam Hornish, as we saw, the yellow car right in the middle of vision there. I mean, Sam Hornish had those two across the track, and if they touched any harder than that, in fact, I'm amazed someone didn't find themselves in the wall anyway. But particularly our commentators, quite rightly I feel you're likely to say here, Paul, was that blaming spotters and said that one spotter would have had the other one by the throat.
Yes, I mean, in fairness to AJ Foyt, I'm the first person to stick my hand up and say he should be in the pit lane watching the race rather than driving it. But here, he was just an innocent victim. He was running his race, and Buddy was just cramping to get past, and that was the problem.
Do you concur with that, Tim?
Absolutely. I mean, but as we're saying, you know, it's very difficult for these drivers to see what's around them. It's the spotter's job to talk them through it.
Well, one thing I know that our spotters have managed to get right for us is, of course, how this race ended up. Let's take a look then at the official result of today's Kentucky race. Sam Hornish, well, clearly the winner. Scott Dixon in second place. Brian Herter third. A great result for Brian Herter there, I've got to say. Congratulations to him. Al Unser in fourth. Helio Castroneves in fifth place, but he moves up the chart into second in the championship. Tony Kanaan in sixth. Robbie Buell. Dan Weldon gets a good eighth, so that's a great shout for the British driver, Dan Weldon. Gilles de Ferran, not going to be happy with ninth, that's for sure. Thomas Schechter, he was out of it all day. We didn't see much of him apart from his bouncing suspension. Buddy Rice in 11th and Roger Yoshikawa in 12th. They're the unofficial results, but no reason why they shouldn't be like it. Scott Sharp, Sarah Fisher, Greg Ray, Buddy Lazier, AJ Foyt, the man we just saw rubbing wheels, Toru Takagi, Kenny Brack, the man we saw on a bonfire, and Alex Barron, who we did see getting out the car much earlier on in the Indy 300 from Kentucky. So that's how it looks at the moment, but a couple of other announcements made. I mean, 16 rounds again next year for this series, Paul. It's not actually growing in size again for 2004, but it certainly is growing in stature, considering the champ cars are really in a bit of trouble at the moment. A lot more teams coming here, I believe.
Yes, there's certainly champ cars unfortunately taken a massive dive down, but it's gone the way of the money. The major motor manufacturers have gone to the IRL, and for sure the teams will follow them. 16 races have been put up on the schedule. However, the teams have been advised that there may be 2 more races added as late as January. And if I was a betting man, I'd rush down to William Hill to say they're going to be road courses.
He's not a betting man, so don't expect him at William Hill, despite the plug. Well, our congratulations go then to the winner, Sam Hornish Jr., of course. The title race is shaping up for a grand final in 2 months' time, but before then we'll be heading up north to Pennsylvania for round 13 of the Indian Racing League. That's the Firestone 225, which is being run at the historic Nazareth track. You can see all the action on Sunday the 24th of August at 8 p.m. on Sky Sports 3. But that's it for today. I'd like to thank our guests Paul Cherry and Tim Scott for their company and their expert observations, of course. And to you for joining us tonight. In the meantime, we'll leave you with some of the best of tonight's action from the Belterra Casino Indy 300.